Okay, welcome everybody. Gonna have a fun show today. Yeah, I love talking about the um, the annual, you want to call it the James Bond Villain Summit, Davos. That's right, it's back. James Bond Villain Summit. Uh, yeah, this is what they're. Well, again, basically, what this is about is what are we going to be able to sell the public on? How are we going to be able to control the public? That's the James Bond villain types that are involved with that big government, big business, media. Again, is the watchdog on Wall Street acts of evil. We've talked about that for years here on the program. And there's also that little side bit there where it's various different consultants and whatnot, basically figuring what the latest grift is going to be. I'll get into that in a bit. But okay, here we go. What's on the menu? 5 main items up for discussion. Yep. Addressing the current energy and food crisis in the context of a new system for energy, climate, and nature. Oh, it sounds good. Oh, yes, oh, yes, it's nature, it's new, it's a new system, it's energy, it's progressive. Addressing the current high inflation, low growth, high debt economy in the context, again, here's the new buzzwords, of a new system for investment, trade, and infrastructure. They're using the old Dom Draper, Mad Men, new and improved system because we sucked with all the crap that we were giving you the past several years. I can go back decades, as a matter of fact. But oh, yeah, these were all the COVIDians there at the World Economic Forum and all the lockdowns and bullshit that they have pushed on us. But no. They got a new system now, and you got to buy into it. Right. Addressing the current industry headwinds in the context, again, of a new system for harnessing frontier technologies for private sector innovation and resilience. Again, you study history, you kind of understand how the world works and whatnot, and just the snake oil salesmen are constantly coming up with their new systems. Oh, they're disruptors. That's the word. I think it's the word that they use now. You're a disruptor. Or is all the World Economic Forum disruptors? Anyway, addressing the current geopolitical risks in the context, again, of a new system for dialogue and cooperation in a multipolar world. You guys going to come up with a new way to handle diplomacy? Is that it? Phrases that have been left out, they're old now. New normal, great reset, build back better. No, they're not in this now. They've kind of gone by the wayside. It's new system. Again, and they actually talk about this and the fact that they need to create and craft a better sales pitch, better narratives. What do we do here on the program is we push back against bullshit narratives. People are more persuaded by the information presented within a narrative because a good narrative helps to ease information processing. Yes, it's easier for all of you morons out there to understand, to basically accept the fact that your fearless overlords, you should just shut up and listen to what they have to say. Those trying to solve the world's most pressing challenges must take notice of this. Basically, let me translate this. Is basically we've got to figure out a better way we can lie to you. Am I off on this at all? at all. Anyway, you got that side of Davos. The other side, again, the other side is finding out what the next grift is going to be. This is where you get the consultant class out there, and the McKinsey types and the other ones out there trying to figure out what the latest fad is going to be. And once they figure out the latest fad is going to be, and what's going to be portrayed in the media, then they can basically convince corporations to invest in a certain way, or basically just blow money, just waste money just to shut people up. It's a true story. Okay, classmate of mine from high school, and he was smart guy, but again, he figured this out. He figured out the whole world around, promoting startups and books and how to become a startup and all of this stuff. And then he had a consulting company that he opened up where he was convincing big businesses to work with them and to try to think like a startup. And it was buzzword after crap that made, the youth out there, the millennials, again, it's like porn for them. And he got companies to send him money, and eventually he sold that company to Accenture. I think Accenture, I don't even know if they're still open anymore. I think Accenture probably shut it down. But again, it's a way of doing business. It is. And again, that's the other aspect of Davos as well. So yes, all the James Bond villains are meeting up. I'm waiting for, Blofeld to show up on CNBC. Maybe they'll interview him a little bit later on. Goldfinger, I don't know where he is. I mean, it's Switzerland. Again, is Goldfinger's from Switzerland? That was right. Yeah, he was. That's where, they tried to take James Bond out with the laser, remember, to the crotch. Off the beaten track. Do you remember back in the 1980s, there was a Saturday Night Live skit. Saturday Night Live skit. It was basically like a talk show, and Joan Cusack was hosting this talk show, and she had the James Bond villains on her couch, and they were discussing a book that they had co-authored. And some things you need to learn is that you get James Bond there, and don't try an elaborate way of killing him. Just shoot him. But anyway. I want to talk a little bit about this as well when it comes to just the overall hypocrisy. I for the life of me, thousands of private jets coming in. Yet they're going to tell you, again, I don't care. God bless you. How about you? I just, God willing, maybe someday I'll be able to have my own. Okay. Thousands of private jets going in. These are the same people that are telling you, about how you have to live, and you can't have your gas stove, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. The hypocrisy is extraordinary. It really is. Here we go. We got the vodka and caviar here, and they're all out there to solve world hunger. What a bunch of bullshit. I mean, you actually take a look at some of this crap and some of the things that they're preaching about, and helping out with child labor. You shut up, for crying out loud. You guys don't even deal with the fact, we talked about this here on the program, the slave labor that's involved, and most of your green ideas at this point in time. We talked about that cobalt, here on the show. Joe Rogan did an unbelievable job on his podcast. Are they going to bring that up here at the summit? No frickin' way. Something they will bring up, and I've had several listeners out there reach out to me about this. And Chris, I got to talk about this. And I have. I don't know if they've missed it, but again, I've talked about this often over the past several years. This concept of a central bank digital currency. Years ago, I was concerned about this because, again, a lot of people were thinking, "Oh, this is great. This is fantastic. Wow, You get rid of cash, cashless society. Well, that'd be awesome. Then you don't have, all of the, the payments for drugs and all of these things that you can get rid of. The problem is this. The problem, and again, it's always been my issue, and I haven't gotten into debates about these central bank digital currencies for a while. I don't trust government. I mean, how in the world? We've got civil liberties and rights that are in our Constitution here in the United States, and they are just trampled on again and again and again by the powers that be. I mean, we just shrug. It's gotten so bad, we just shrugged them off. Oh, yeah, it's good for you that the government is listening into your phone calls and checking your emails and your search history. No, it's not. No, it's not. That type of power and that type of information in the hands of the wrong people, not a good thing. Not a good thing. And again, I'm sub-referencing again. Do you remember it was in the second Christopher Nolan Batman? It's a Dark Knight, right? Dark Knight. And the evil Joker character, and they're trying to find him. And Batman developed some sort of technology, almost works like sonar. You can pick up a cell phone, and you can track and find people anywhere. And, his partner there, basically, listen, I can't be involved. This is awful. This is terrible. He's like, listen, after I use this to find, you got to shut this thing off. You got to destroy it. Anyway, do you really want the government tracking every single thing you do? You think that's a good idea? Well, that's what China does. So China, that's the whole, the whole social credit thing. You better get your mind right. You got to get your mind right, or guess what? You can't get on an airplane. It's the same concept. Not to mention the fact, we'll look at this in terms of forcing you to spend money. And this is a concept a little bit more difficult for me to explain. If there's no currency, if you cannot take your money physically out of the bank, you can't take it physically out of the bank. The government can then say, hey, listen, we're going to go negative interest rates. And what does that mean? They're going to charge you to just hold on to what you've earned. That's what negative interest rates are. Again, there was negative interest rates all over the globe. All over the globe. And because of that, you had asset inflation in various different classes because people with money, especially some of the people that are pulling commodities out of the ground, oil, gas, you name it, needed to find a home for this stuff. We talked about this here on the program. You got all these, I'm talking multi-million dollar penthouses and apartments in New York City that no one ever goes to. They just sit there empty. Or the people that own them maybe go once or twice a year. I remember this is where Bloomberg screwed up on this. It was people pushed back, said, "Oh, you're allowing all of these new high rises to go up," and he's like, "I want to attract billionaires. I want them to be here. It's good for New York City." Now again, he didn't see the unintended consequences. Yeah, did he attract a lot of money and a lot of billionaires? Yeah, but nobody's there. Nobody's there, so they're not going out. They're not doing anything. They just own an empty piece of real estate right there, because why not? But what the alternative is to stick it in a bank and lose money because you're not getting any rate of return. Why bother? Well, the same thing can hold true here. And if you go to a digital currency where the government could say, "Hey, we want to jump the economy a little bit. We got an election coming up. I want to spike GDP. Guess what? We're going to go negative interest rates." Or you can do like China. China has, because they've instituted digital currencies, they have currency there that it's use it or lose it. Whereas it expires. If you don't spend the money by a certain point in time, poof, it's gone. Again, issues with digital. Again, you want to have a digital currency, maybe between financial institutions where it's on the same ledger, where it's similar to what they have with some of the crypto. That's where you use the blockchain. If it's on that same type of a plane, if you will, to make settlements happen that much faster. Okay, I get that. But the moment they get rid of and they go to a cashless society is it's a scary situation. Anyway, one more bit here in regards to central banks, part of our talking about Davos here. I don't know if you're aware of this. Okay, this is how, and I know I discussed this here on the program, but it's worth telling again because I got the numbers now. Every single day, the Federal Reserve, Jay Powell and the gang, is sending $650 million to banks here in the United States and, well, for that matter, all over the globe. $650 million in interest payments a day. Yeah. Again, how could that be? Why are we sending interest payments to foreign countries? Think about it, $650 million. That's some real cake. Again, this is what happens when rates come up. And these financial institutions, not just from the United States, but from all over the globe, can park money at the Fed, and the Fed has to pay interest on those deposits. Yeah. $650 million a day. Why would they do that? Well, again, this is another way they're controlling inflation. Rather than have banks go out and lend the money out, just park it there at the Fed and collect cash. Risk-free. All right, let's get into a couple of earnings today. I'm going to do bits and pieces with earnings here and there. Morgan Stanley, fourth quarter earnings exceeded Wall Street's expectations. They did well. Goldman Sachs did not. David Solomon's going to have to do some more DJ gigs, I guess, to get Goldman Sachs' numbers up. Their earnings were $3.32 a share versus $5.48 a share. The revenue wasn't even that far off. It was $10.59 billion versus $10.83. The hirings have already commenced, and they're going to continue. I mean, their expenses are through the roof. But again, this is what happens to many of these big companies. Your pay gets completely out of whack. Paying executives, you're paying people too much frickin' money. And this is part of the problem, part of the incestuous nature that we have between the corporate board of directors and the people that are running these companies. They're all buddies with one another. Each and every one, they're all buddies. They're all friends. And they sit on each other's boards. And they hook each other up on a regular basis. And this is where pay gets out of control. It's an easy fix. Again, talked about this for years and years. It's not a difficult fix. You just don't allow it. Enough is enough here. You can't go sit on multiple boards. Okay, if you're CEO of a company, I'm sorry, you can't sit on a board of directors anywhere else. And you know what? If you're retired, you know what? Get out. Find people. We have a country of 330 million people. To think that this crowd is the only ones that are effective in this, it's bull excrement. It really is. Anyway, interesting. And this is I told you so. Told you this was coming. China's population falling. Deaths outnumbered births last year for the first time in 6 decades. Again, saw this coming a mile away. Again, this could go back to demographic issues where they had their one-child policy in China, and again, you're going to see their population continue to fall. There's obviously implications for this in regards to whether or not they're going to be that economic power. I mean, they're an economic power. There's no doubt about that. But there's going to be a greater eye to what's going on over in India that has much higher birth rates. And again, they're talking about China's GDP numbers, which are just god awful. And if they're actually putting them out as being bad, then they're just that much worse. I mean, it's bad. All right, let's move on to Kevin McCarthy, the Republicans, the donkeys, Democrats, and Janet Yellen, and the debt ceiling. So Janet Yellen on Thursday got to do some extraordinary measures in regards to making sure that we're making good on our debt. Okay. Again, the White House is saying there's not going to be any negotiation over the debt ceiling. This is a horrible starting off point, quite frankly. Yeah, you mean to tell me you can't find anything? You can't find anything at all in our budget. You can't find any cuts. It's not worth taking, I don't know, a look at, a glance at. Just say, hey, you know what? Where are we wasting money? Where can we make some cuts? And again, you're also getting this on both sides because you get the rah-rah military types out there, and the Wall Street Journal editorial board being one that wants to hike military spending because, again, I guess we're going to get invaded tomorrow or something like that. I don't know. According to them, we are. It's ridiculous. Again, you can find cuts everywhere. You can find greater efficiencies. You find ways to save money anywhere. You just have to want to do it. And unfortunately, the people in D.C., they don't want to do it. And again, this is just not the Democrats. I know the White House is pushing back on this, but it's the same thing. Same thing with Republicans as well. All right. I'm going to change topics here. And I'm a big believer in getting rid of ridiculous regulations. And we have plenty of them here in this country. And I was glad to see this in the state of Ohio. You had the Governor Mike DeWine signed a universal licensing recognition bill, and it covers 650 Ohio professions, which is 1 in 5 jobs that require workers to obtain an occupational license. Acquiring these government permission slips typically involves some combination of education and training, and would-be license holders almost always pay the state for the privilege of working, which to me is just disgusting. It's disgusting. But anyway, they talk about plumbers here. I mean, you could be a plumber. Let's say you're a plumber in the state of New York. You have to move to Ohio. Oh, boy, you've got to jump through a million different hoops and do all of these things before you can actually practice your craft there, which is nuts. It doesn't make any sense. Now, the Wall Street Journal says here that the average salary of that's plumbers in Ohio, $60,000. I'd say that's low. I'm just saying. I'm just saying 60,000. Well, he said a lot of plumbers just taking cash, so we don't know how much they're actually reporting as far as income is concerned. I got a lot of plumbers, many plumbers as clients, and that's a damn good business. You remember the character in the movie Moonstruck there? What was his name? Cosmo Castorini. He's going around to, suit, checking out the plumbing and seeing what needs to be done and giving quotes on this. Yeah, it's a great business. Fantastic business. But again, if it's not just plumbers, but it's everything from preschool teachers to barbers, for crying out loud. If you want to move to one state to another, if you have a license in said state, why can't you transfer that over? I mean, you get a driver's license in New York and I want to move back to Florida. I just turn in my license. I show up at the DMV and I got to pay for my license down there. But they're going to give it to me. I don't have to take the freaking driver's test again. Anyway, this story here. I give credit Caitlin Johnstone talking about journalists and just how god-awful and cowardly they are as more and more information comes out from Matt Taibbi in regards to Twitter and the conduct of the mainstream media. And again, we talk about narratives here. The narrative from 2000 2016 was the Russians, the evil Russians and their black arts that they are conducting to get involved and influence our elections. That was nonstop. Nonstop. New York Times, Washington Post, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, Russia, Russia, Russia. It was all BS. All of it. Every single bit of it was absolute BS. You're going back and you're taking a look now at actually, they were talking about all the influence peddling. Here's an example. This is a Politico journalist, Tim Starks. June 5th, 2019. Russia's manipulation of Twitter was far vaster than believed. Here is January 9th, 2023. Same author. Russian trolls on Twitter had little influence on 2016 voters. This is how they play this crap. They push a narrative to push their agenda. They don't give a damn whether, they do. They don't give a damn whether or not it's accurate. They give a damn whether or not it's pushing what they believe in. They're not believers in the truth by any stretch of the imagination. They're narrative pushers. I have zero respect for journalists. Journalists are down there with me as far as politicians are concerned. The vast majority of them are just lying liars. And again, you go through what they do is they lie and they lie and they lie and they lie. After, time passes, they come back and they write a counter story when nobody's paying attention and say, "Oh, look, we got it right. We corrected it." Yeah, after the damage is done. Arsonists, you burn the house down, and then you come back after the house burned down, you pour some water on it. Oh, we poured some water on it. Anyway, I got to do a rest in peace, if you will, to an author, historian that I've got an enormous deal of respect for. And again, I highly recommend, if you ever get a chance to read his stuff, it's outstanding. He's British. His name is Paul Johnson. Paul Johnson, he died, it was 94 years old. Modern Times, History of the American People, just absolutely fabulous books. He also he did history of Christianity, did history of Jews. He did a biography of Winston Churchill. I haven't read all of his stuff, read a bunch of it. And again, I wish there was more hours in the day. I've got to read more because he's just that good. I'm going to talk. It's just a line from him that I love. And again, I'm a big believer in this. He says the study of history is a powerful antidote to contemporary arrogance. Said this as well. This is the beginning of the history of the American people, which is phenomenal. I have not bowed to current academic nostrums about nomenclature, accepted the flybone phylacteries of political correctness. So I do not acknowledge the existence of hyphenated Americans or Native Americans or any other qualified kind. They are all Americans to me. Black, white, red, brown, yellow, thrown together by fate in that swirling maelstrom of history, which has produced the most remarkable people the world has ever seen. Again, this guy's British, talking about we the people here in the United States. Anyway, again, Paul Johnson, go on Amazon, go to your favorite bookstore. If you've never read his stuff, it's fantastic. It really is. I had to bring this to see. I told you so. They talking about wind farms, and I've discussed them here on the program, and we've gone over some of the effects that again, this is what wind farms have become a NIMBY thing, not in my backyard here in the United States. And people that have lived around these wind farms talked about problems that they're having in regards to their ears and equilibrium and being thrown off. Well, and they say, oh, okay, let's put them offshore. Let's put them offshore. And again, I raised the question here on the program. I said, well, what about those mammals that we love out there? You know, the whales, save the whales and dolphins. And I love dolphins and whales. I do. They're beautiful. And they communicate via sonar. And, you know, are these, I don't know. I mean, check to see if these wind farms you're putting out there are going to start messing around and screwing with the heads of these mammals. Again, my love of these creatures goes back on my aunt, Virginia. I called her Giggy. One of the best gifts I ever got, and still get it. And I get both of them. And I also get National Geographic. She got me a subscription to National Geographic when I was a kid, and loved it. And I remember there was this one that I got where it had this like vinyl. It wasn't vinyl, but it was like a record inside the National Geographic that played the what the whales sounded like when they talk and how they communicate and how amazing it is. But anyway. I digress. We've got whales that are just showing up dead here off the coast of, here in Long Island and New Jersey. And New Jersey is going all in with their offshore wind farms. And water's bloody clean. Now, we talked about that with the sharks and the amount of sharks that we're seeing and the bait fish that are there, but for some reason, these whales just keep showing up dead. Mark my words. Wind farms. Telling you, it's the wind farms. But again, they've already started that in motion, so expect more dead whales. I don't know how you crazy greenies, because I consider myself a thoughtful environmentalist. Again, not a whack job. What the whack job environments, I wonder what their thoughts are on this. There's just a trade-off that's acceptable to them. But anyway, another story I wanted to touch on for a while. Again, one of the things that I have been, I explained, I'm not Mary Poppins. There's no spoonful of sugar to make the medicine go down here on the podcast. So I'm brutally honest with everybody here. And again, today's day and age, people get bent out of shape. They get angry. I guess maybe they always did. But I went back. I watched time to time, not only for great laugh, but another great philosopher of the 20th century, George Carlin. One of the greats, and in my opinion, a great philosopher of the 20th century, George Carlin. And went back and watched one of his routines. I think it was from 2005, 6, 7, that period of time. And he was just going off on, basically the consumption nation that we've become. We took this beautiful nation. He cracked a joke that we took from the Native Americans and from the Mexicans. And he said, we turned it into one big damn shopping mall. And he went off on this rant. And they talked about the consumption. And then he got into obesity here in the United States. And it's gotten worse. I mean, I've been away, traveling a lot on weekends as of late. I mean, I'm in and out of airports within a day. And, you see what goes on. You see the condition of Americans here, and just how overweight and just the overall health here in this country, and what a disaster it is. Sometimes you see these debates online. Oh, the British healthcare is so much better than the Italian healthcare. No. I don't know about British, but you go to certain places, especially in some of these Mediterranean countries, you don't see fat people. It's not because they're not starving. It's just because they're eating a hell of a lot better. And again, the concept that, it's because, we can't afford healthy food options here in the United States. Bullshit. As Tony Soprano told Bobby Bacala in The Sopranos, I strongly suggest salads. But now you've got the American Academy of Pediatrics. And again, I wouldn't, my kids decide I do not become a pediatrician because this is some progressive left-wing lunatics that want to drug up kids. The American Academy of Pediatrics is basically telling that, it's good to give, it's okay to give adolescents and teens drugs to basically deal with the obesity problem here. Not just drugs, but was it that gastric bypass surgery? We got childhood obesity rates going through the roof. Again, COVID put it on steroids. And, according to one study, the share of 5 to 11-year-olds classified as obese ballooned by nearly 40% between March of 2020 and January 2021. 1 in every 4 kids by the end of the study was considered obese. So 25% kids out there were considered obese. There would be the kid or two that might be a little bit, remember, and I was husky. Okay. I held on to the baby fat a little bit, but was never fat. Was husky for a period of time, but you really didn't see it. I didn't see it when I was growing up. We all know that childhood obesity is a problem. Just obesity is a problem. And what does it cause? Diabetes, hypertension, other health problems. You get the kids that are, dealing with COVID issues. They're obese more often than not. That's the issue. And again, you got Alyssa Finley in the Wall Street Journal here. I'm going to take some of her piece here. Decades ago, kids trudged to and from school, bicycled and rollerbladed around the neighborhood, and played pickup basketball in the park. In recent decades, they've spent more time indoors, staring at screens and gorging on sugar-laden food. It's no surprise that obesity rates have quadrupled since the 1970s. Not in my house. Again, it's just growing up. And I grew up in a pretty Italian household. We had high quality homemade food on a regular basis. We didn't have shit junk food. If I was allowed to have a soda, it would be on a rare occasion. It wasn't in our house. Sugar cereals? Didn't exist. Sugar cereals did not exist in our house. We'd have Rice Krispies, cornflakes. Those were basically, and Rice Check. Those were basically the choices that we had. Maybe Wheaties from time to time. So, whose fault is this? And I'd grown up. I had one of the earlier video game systems in our house. And again, I grew up in upstate New York, so it get pretty frickin' cold out in the winter. But we couldn't sit on the thing all day. Mother, like, get out. Go outside and play. And that's what we did. You're going to quote, Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid. No such thing, bad student, only bad teacher. Parents, this is on you. Your kid is unhealthy and out of shape. It's on you. You can take away the freaking video game and tell them to get the hell outside. It's just like we're destined because of screens and phones and video games. Television's been around for a while. Why are people so damn fat? The American Academy of Pediatrics seeks to minimize the role of personal behavior in causing obesity, which it asserts has complex, wait for it, genetic, physiologic, socioeconomic, and environmental contributors. That's true as far as it goes. Some people who have won the genetic lottery are naturally thin, while others have to work harder to keep off extra pounds. Okay. Um, so, and they're saying junk food here is usually cheaper than healthier fare. I'm not buying into that at all. You mean to tell me a bag, a small bag of personal size bag of Doritos or cheesy poofs or whatever the flip garbage you're eating is more expensive than biting into an apple? I don't think so. Anyway, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, it's known as the Centers for Disinformation, the prevalence of obesity is nearly twice as high in children from low and middle income households as in higher income ones. Obesity rates are on average 5 to 7 percentage points higher among Hispanic and Black children than white ones, and they blame the disparities on racism. What a bunch of horseshit. Give me a break. It's horse manure. We continue to add it. We keep saying we got to add more money for food stamp benefits because the left says, hey, you got to get more money because then they can afford healthier food. People aren't buying it. People, you got more money. They're spending it more on junk. And the interesting thing is that that's what the left wants. You spend more money to spend on better food. And they oppose any sort of control that is put on saying, you know what, if we're going to give you food stamps, you're only allowed to buy healthy items with it. And you get people that are more aligned with my camp, the so-called, libertarians. And I don't understand this point as far as, people on the right saying, well, you know what, you can't tell people what to buy. You can if you're giving them the money, for crying out loud. I get it if the people earn the money on their own by themselves, but if you're just giving it out, you can't, decide and say, hey, listen, you can't buy chips with that. You got to buy some healthier options. Again, I don't get it. But again, this is where we're heading here in this country, is that we're gonna solve more problems with drugs and surgery. Kids, the hell is wrong with you? Kick your kid if your kid is fat. Okay, admit your kid's fat. Oh, you can't say that today. It's fat shaming. Bullshit. It's unhealthy, and it's unhealthy. Okay, you want to make yourself feel good? Oh, it's societal issues. Oh, give me a freaking break. Anyway, holy shnikes, look at the time. WatchDogOnWallStreet.com is our website. Get there. Become part of the Watchdog on Wall Street family. Again, our personal CFO program, our newsletter. Subscribe to our podcast there. Carry it around with you. Apple, Spreaker, Spotify, you name it. You can get it there. YouTube as well. Take advantage. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Have a wonderful day.